to my nightmare.
Hello everyone, Grim here, and as you can probably tell, it's time for me to read you another story. This one is titled, I'm Filipino, and our culture is heavily influenced by the creatures that lurk in the dark. This is the part 3, written by the user Phaerim, posted to the subreddit r/nosleep. As the last two, I will be using an amazing voice actor along with me. They go by Ban, so please give them a warm welcome. Sit back, relax, and let's begin. Hello once again. Sorry it's taken me so long to write this update, and thank you for sticking with me since my first post. I finally made a decision on what to do about Lola, so I'm writing this update, but first, let me tell you what happened in the past few days. Some of you have suggested talking to my grandmother during the day, so I went ahead and did that. It was a bit hard to convince my family to let me see her during the day, since they knew I didn't agree with what they did. They eventually gave in, and I was able to speak with her.
Oh, Apo, I didn't know you were in town.
Lola said to me as I entered her room. She looked worse than I imagined, as if all the light and life in her had been drained. She had lost a lot of weight and her skin looked like it was just barely hanging on to her bones. Her eyes were sunken and had dark circles around them. It was clear to me that my family didn't care what kind of state she was in, just that she was alive. Yeah, sorry it took me so long to come see you, Lola. How are you doing? I asked hesitantly.
I've seen better days.
Do you know what they did? She frowned slightly.
Yes, I asked them not to. How did you know about this?
I saw you last night. I was trying to expel the chick from your body. She turned to look outside the window. There was a long pause before she responded.
I love my children. I know they had good intentions in the beginning, but they need to let me go. My time on this earth should have ended a long time ago.
Is there anything I can do to help?
Kill me.
Her request stunned me. It took me a moment to think of the appropriate response. What?
Do the expelling ritual. Let that fucking chick die in the sun. And leave my body to die along with it. Nobody should have access to that kind of magic. I shouldn't have kept it with me. Screw tradition and trying to appease my ancestors. Get rid of the damn thing.
I was surprised to hear my grandmother use that kind of language. I think she was just so done with everything at this point. Although it's understandable given everything my family has put her through.
And don't tell those entitled brats about your plan.
Lola continued. Okay, I'll do it. I have everything I need for the ritual, I replied, determined to help my grandmother end this nightmare of a curse. I headed back to my bedroom to see if Myra had returned. At some point to stash the materials in there. Luckily for me, she did. It was all in a black duffel bag, practically begging to be used. I stuffed it in my empty suitcase that had one of those combination locks. I was getting hungry, so I decided to go to the kitchen to fix something up. Myra was there, grabbing a drink from the fridge. I still didn't want to talk to her, so I tried sneaking away. Food can wait.
Louise?
I heard her call after me. Oh, Myra, hey, didn't see you there, I said as I turned back around to look at her. She rolled her eyes at me.
Honey, lying was never your strong suit. Anyway, we need to talk.
About the wedding? Yeah, there's this cake that
Can you stop trying to avoid the subject, please?
I sighed. Babe, I get it, okay? You understand where my family is coming from, which I personally think is stupid, so there's nothing to talk about. Let's just agree to disagree.
I do get where they're coming from. It doesn't mean I agree with what they did. What they did to your grandmother and to you, your siblings, your cousins. It wasn't right. I just wanted to give them some time to process the fact that they're going to lose their mother for good now.
Does that mean you're still going through with the ritual?
Yes, in a few days.
Things have changed now. I spoke to Lola. I told Myra about my grandmother's request and my plan to execute it. She didn't like the idea of being part of actually killing someone, but she agreed to help, although she wasn't exactly enthusiastic about it, to be fair. Neither was I. We waited for midnight for Lola to come out, as usual, and started towards the clearing near the aleti tree. My heart was pounding in my chest, threatening to jump out of my ribcage as we waited for her to take the bait. I wasn't sure if this was going to go well since we didn't have anyone else with us. I was tempted to just go back home to the city and forget all this happened, but I couldn't let innocent people die. I had a responsibility to this town now, and it was weighing me down like a sack of bricks. We spotted Lola around half an hour later, her large wings creating a breeze above us. I threw the salt garlic mixture at her and down she went, just like last time. Myra and I tried to tie her up, but it proved to be more difficult this time around. My grandmother struggled against Myra's grasp, shrieking as she thrashed around.
Ow!
Myra yelled. Lola had bitten her arm and the blood started to gush out. I let go of the rope in a panic, and Lola took this opportunity to grab a handful of my hair.
Leave me alone!
The creature howled in a fiendish voice. I searched around in my pocket for the salt and garlic mix with my free hand. Fortunately, I still had a bit left. Shut the fuck up, you freak! You literally asked me to do this, so just... I threw the mixture at her face and continued. Calm down! Lola let out the most horrific scream as she went down once more. Got on top of her to pin her down as Myra tied her up. We hoisted her up to the tree while she yelled in protest. Are you okay? I asked Myra as I grabbed the first aid kit from my backpack.
Yeah, it just stinks a little.
Myra said and let out a dry chuckle, the way she always tried to seem tougher than she actually was. I applied pressure to the wound with a piece of gauze to stop it bleeding and disinfected it with some antiseptic. Is this like a normal wound, or are mushrooms gonna pop out of your arms now? I asked, trying to lighten the mood.
Nah, it's gonna be fine. The only real threat is a potential infection. But you already made sure that wouldn't happen.
She smiled warmly at me. Damn, I only just then realized how much I missed her. I know I was the one who was avoiding her, but in my defense, I was caught up in the whole manananggal business. I forgot what normal lives we used to lead before all of this. But it wasn't the time to reminisce. We needed to end this once and for all. I grabbed the concoction from the duffel bag and walked towards the creature hanging from the tree. I'm sorry this happened to you, Lola. You deserved so much better, I said to her. I spilled the concoction into her already open mouth. She tried to spit it out at first, but you know that thing you do to dogs to make them swallow a pill? I didn't really know what else to describe it as, but that's what I did. My grandmother snarled at me as I forced her to swallow the magical drink that would inevitably be the death of her. She started throwing around profanities in Filipino, but I decided to ignore her. She eventually vomited out the chick and it fell to the ground. I kicked it away from her in case she tried anything. It was a disgusting little thing covered in bile and mucus. It looked like a regular chick, except it had black feathers and red eyes. Now we wait. I started to get sleepy at around 4 a.m, but I needed to wait this thing out. Kinda hard to do when you're exhausted from trying to tie a monster up to a tree.
I bought some snacks in my bag if you're hungry.
Myra said as she handed me a piece of bread wrapped in a paper towel. Oh, thank God. I practically yanked the thing out of her hand and devoured it in one bite.
You should get some rest. I can stand watch until sunrise.
Maybe a few minutes. I don't know what happened after that. I may have passed out. By the time I woke up, Myra was gone, and so was the chick. I could only see what remained of the upper half of Lola's body. It had been around an hour since sunrise, give or take, so it was mostly just ash. I ran to the house to check on the lower half, hoping to run into Myra at some point. It was in the same state as the upper half by the time I arrived. Everyone was still asleep, so I had a few minutes to try to think of what to say to them when they would inevitably discover what I had done. I decided to search for Myra in the meantime. I looked just about everywhere, but I couldn't find her. Maybe the chick dried up before the body did? Since it was smaller? But that wouldn't explain why Myra had gone missing. I eventually gave up and headed back home to get some sleep. I think my family got the gist of what happened. The lower half of the manananggal was gone and there was no trace of ashes. As per usual, they decided to sweep it up under the rug, or trash can. Jokes. My mother glared at me as I walked by her in the living room, but I was honestly too tired to care. I just wanted to sleep and look for Myra once I had gotten enough rest. I woke up at around 3 a.m. and decided to continue my search. As you might remember, Myra often went out at odd times in the middle of the night. I wandered the streets and ended up in a dark alley. I had hoped to find her somewhere doing her ghost hunting thing. What I found instead was the lower half of a human body. And that is the end. What an amazing 3-part series. I don't know if there's going to be more to that, but I think there should be. Just an FYI to the writer. Outside of it all, I had a lot of fun narrating that. I don't know if I made mention of it earlier, but my partner is from the Philippines, so there is that cultural relationship there. Well, I won't hold you guys back any longer. You just make sure you look after yourself and be safe wherever you are. And as usual, this is Grim, and I'm signing off.